everybody, Jennifer from Scrapping Under the Influence. I am back with another project using the Winter Magic collection from Echo Park. So I was sent this collection and the Frames and Tags ephemera pack along with the seam binding from Country Craft Creations. I did actually buy extras of each one of the papers just because it was gorgeous and I knew I wanted to be able to make a bigger project and a couple of smaller ones. So for this one I did actually use an entire collection pack's worth of paper, so that would be the 12 double-sided that come in the collection kit. And then I did use some of the stickers, I used some of the ephemera, but you could do it with just the collection kit that has the sticker sheet and the 12 sheets. This is 8 by 10 with a 1.5 inch spine. On the front here I've taken one of the borders. There's a couple of different sheets that have a border strip on them, and I took and went over this with Nuvo crystal glaze that was in my stash just to kind of make those little snow globes on that strip stand out. I just had some gems from my stash. I mounted this on one of the solids from the collection and one of the border strips from the sticker sheet. And this is a pocket, so I've got a couple of the ephemera pieces and a couple of the cut aparts that I've just matted and I've got tucked in here. And then the wintertime banner sticker from the collection kit. The back I've matted with, I love this page, this paper. I hated to cover it up, which is why it ended up on the back, but then it's on the back. I was just really torn on what to do with it, but it's got this beautiful ombre effect and it's just gorgeous. So I did 3 ties for closure on the side. And when you open this up, you've got a lot of space in here and a lot of pockets and spaces and things for pictures. So let's start over here on the right hand side. When you're going through the tutorial, I didn't add the magnetic closure on this during the tutorial. I did add it after the fact, which is why there's this lovely little snowman here hiding a magnet. But that is something you may want to do. I've got the stickers here that I've backed on the navy artisan cardstock and cut out. Same thing with this little snowman, and this is one of the cut aparts. This is another one of the cut aparts. And this bigger pocket is actually open on the side here, so you can really easily get a bunch of stuff in there. I've got one of the tags from the ephemera, which apparently has little holes in the bottom, and I didn't realize that. But you've got a couple of good sized pockets there. And then this guy isn't attached down all the way, so if you had a small, 3x4 picture you wanted to stick here, you could. When you open this up, we've got some flaps on this side where you can put some pictures. This one, of course, is not all the way down. This is one of the stickers. And you, of course, could put pictures on the front here. These are just big diagonal pockets that kind of mirror each other so that when you move this flap, stuff's not going to slide out one way or the other. And then over here I've got a nice acetate frame with an insert, and I did use the center part that I cut out to mat the frame on that insert, so when you have this slid down in here before you get a picture or anything on there, you do have that nice effect with that entire sheet. When you open it up this way, I've got double belly bands here. These are 7 by 12 folios, trifold folios. I did leave these blank for pictures. You could mat them if you wanted to. And then I've got some stacked pockets here. So the pocket opens from the top this way, and it also from the side here, and I've notched that one with my envelope punch. And then this cut apart I actually trimmed down because the border was like weirdly huge on it and I loved that one, so I did make that into a pocket as well, so that is open and you can tuck a couple of things in there. So I've got one of the ephemera pieces and one of the cut aparts matted and tucked in there. So this comes back like this, closes up. On this side, I did actually go over the swirls on this paper with the art glitter glue and then added the pearl art glitter ultrafine glitter on top of that, and it's kind of hard to see on camera, unfortunately, but there you go. You kind of see that sparkle there. It looks really cool in person. So just a very simple waterfall, just because they're a good way to get a lot of pictures in a small space. One of the cut aparts that I cut down there to fit there, I've got a half-page flap here, and those little banner pieces are not attached all the way down, so you could slip a picture underneath. When you open this up, I've got pockets on each side that I've done the notch with the envelope punch. And then I've got an acetate pocket here with an 1/8 inch gusset, so you're going to be able to get a ton of stuff in here. I did notch that with the envelope punch, and the way this sits, once you open it, there is another pocket that mirrors this exactly underneath, so you've got a lot of space here. You could do a big insert here if you wanted to, and of course this is loose, so you could get a picture in here as well. This is actually the reverse of this page right here, so when I cut this out to mat this frame, I was able to put this underneath here so that when this is closed, it gives it a really nice look. But again, that really big pocket there. Of course, the acetate is optional, as always. And then we've got a nice big pocket back here as well. So goes together fairly quickly. Nothing too super complicated here. But that's my project. I hope you like it. The tutorial will play right after this. And of course, if you end up making this, please share it with us on Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations, as well as on my channel, my page, Scrapping Under the Influence, on both Facebook and Instagram. Thanks. So for our folio, we're going to need 2 pieces of chipboard that are 8 by 10. Okay, gone ahead and prepped those with tape. And 1 piece that is 8 by 1.5. This is going to be our spine. I'm going to start with getting the cardstock on the 2 front and back cover to wrap. So we want our 1 inch border around all 4 sides. So I've got my 1 inch spacers. These are available on the website at Country Craft Creations. Down and move it to the side, and we'll do our other one. And the paper to wrap this, because I don't think I just said that, I think I thought it but didn't say it, is 10 by 12. So if you're trying to do design your own album and use the easy wrap method, basically whatever size your cover pieces are, you want 1 inch on each side. So this is 8 by 10. It's going to be wrapped with a 10 by 12 piece. Okay. Okay. I'm going to swap out my 1 inch for my 1.5 for our spine. Our spine piece is 4.5 by 10. Slide that in there. Get my 1.5 inch spacer. Get my tape off the back of this one. Maybe. Okay. And for the spine, you would say you're going to add 1 inch on the top and bottom, and you're going to add 1.5 inches on each side. So where this is 1.5 by 8, it's being wrapped with 10 by 4.5. Okay. Just in case, you know, you want to do something different and you weren't sure how to wrap that, that's how we're going to do it. So let me grab my scissors and my 1/4 inch score tape. So we're going to wrap. We're just going to use the chipboard to bend the cardstock over that edge, and then with the bone folder, we're just going to crease. We're going to do that on both sides. I don't know what I got on there. Weird. And I'm going to do this on all 3 of our chipboard pieces. And you could absolutely wrap one completely, so your tape, your glue, you know, do your corners, the whole bit, and then come back and do the next one. I like to, I don't know, I call it assembly line crafting. So if I have one step I have to repeat on several pieces, I'm going to do it on all the pieces, rather, so that whatever, you know, which in this case, yeah, it's the bone folder, but you know, if I've got a specific tool or something that I'm using for that, I don't have to keep getting it back out. I can just go through and use it for what I need to use it for, and then set it aside. Okay. So let me get my space first. There we go. All right, so on all 3 of these pieces, we're going to cut out this corner. And you're just going to cut right along those lines that you burnished when you were folding the chipboard, or the cardstock around the chipboard. Okay. So we're going to cut out those corner pieces. Okay. Once you have those cut out, you're going to fold this over, and you're going to look to see if you've got anything hanging out over that edge. If you do, you're just going to put your scissors up against the chipboard, get to that corner, pivot slightly, and just miter. Okay? You can, well, not on this piece. The other 2 pieces you can miter across this way, but a lot of times I find that I end up cutting in too close, and then you end up with chipboard showing that you don't want to showing. Okay, so see, this one's a better example. You can see how there's like that little tail kind of sticking out there. We're going to do it here. And after you've done this a few times, it does get easier. Okay. I'm going to do that on here as well. The other reason that you don't want to get too aggressive, especially on the spine, is there's actually, and this was thanks to a couple of different people at the retreat that told us, the October retreat, that told us they'd been doing it this way. You can actually wrap the wings on your spine to do it to the inside like I typically do. You can also do it to the outside. And I think that's what I'm going to show you on this one. It's not, I've done it a couple of times. I personally love the clean look you get doing them, you know, where you have that very defined spine area. But if that's not your thing, totally get it. So I'm going to show you the other way to wrap that, which is where I'm saying, and it'll make more sense when I'm saying you don't want to miter those spine corners too aggressively, because then wrapping it to the outside does not work. Okay, so I'm going to check my corners one more time. So what I'm going to do with my 2 cover pieces, we're going to set the spine piece to the side for the moment. What we're going to do, and you can do this entirely with glue if you want to. I do like doing this with the combination of the score tape and the glue. But we're just going to come around our edges with the score tape. And again, like I said, you can do this entirely with glue. It's up to you. I like this method, and I know Tammy kind of goes both ways. I do like this method because then, you know, the tape does grab immediately. You're not having to sit and burnish while you're waiting for the glue to start to get good and tacky and kind of stay. This way, you know, it's grabbing immediately, and you also are still using the glue that's going to hold forever and always, so you don't have to worry about your book coming apart. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and do my tape on this one as well. Just push a little bit of my bin down here. So the other day went through and like deep cleaned and reorganized some stuff in my craft room, and I'm really glad I did because it's so nice and clean right now. I know it won't last, but I'm going to enjoy it while it does. I don't have, you know, 1,000 piles of things waiting on me right now, and it won't last, but it's nice for now. Okay. Okay, so we'll come back into the spine because we are going to use this other method when we assemble our base here, our cover. I'm just going to go ahead and burnish those down really quickly. All right, so I'm just going to go around. I'm going to get my score tape off of all of my sides. Don't do that yet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, before I get going, I am going to clean out my glue bottle really quick, or the tip of my glue bottle. So what I do typically is I will take just a little piece of pipe cleaner, and this is literally just the craft pipe cleaners from the kids section at Michael's, and I'm just going to push that up in here and just twist this around the pipe cleaner. And that is going to get almost all of that gunk out. And it does seem, to me at least, to work a little bit better if you do it before you start turning this upside down and squeezing. And then I put my pen back in, and you see how that pushed out some more gunk? So I'll put my pen back in, wipe that off, and just kind of do that a couple of times, make sure I didn't miss anything in there. And then I wipe off the top part of my bottle and put this all back together. There you go. I don't know if I'd showed that here recently, so I thought that would be kind of helpful. So, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to run glue right along the edge of this chipboard, and then we're going to do our squiggle in the middle. You don't need tons. Art glitter glue, a little bit goes a long way. And then just burnish that down. Okay? And ignore the pencil line that's on here. This was actually a scrap that I had cut for something. It was a bigger scrap. and I just grabbed it out of my drawer to when I was getting ready to cut stuff for this album, and I just didn't erase it, but I meant to. All right, so we're going to squiggle again. We're just using our bone folder to push up against the side of that chipboard and then up and over and burnish it down. Okay. All right, let's grab our next one. Okay, and we'll do it one more time. Okay. And again. All right, so let's look at our spine. So on our spine, we are going to wrap these two short end pieces in. So I'm going to do the same thing here with the tape. Okay. And then the glue again along the edge of the chipboard and then just in that space between the chipboard and your tape. Bone folder to push it up and over and down. Okay, and down. All right, so normally right now is when I would have you turn this upside down, or, you know, the good side up, and burnish along the sides here to work that paper down over the spine. And then we would attach our cover like this, okay? I'm going to show you how you can do it with it wrapped to the outside. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 1/4 inch score tape and we are going to put this right next to the chipboard, okay? This is going to give us a way to make sure we have enough of a gusset, enough spacing here, so that when we attach our covers and you fold this, it's not going to cause your cardstock to crack, which it's hard to make the artisan cardstock crack, but it can happen if you do wrap something too tightly. Trust me, I know this from experience. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to burnish that down because we will pull that up, that backing up here eventually. So we're going to do glue, okay? And you could probably take this in even a little bit further. You could probably use 1/8 inch and be okay. We're going to use the 1/4 inch just because it's not going to hurt us to have a little bit of extra space. I did not mean to pull that off there yet. Hold up. let's not do that yet. Not until we go to put our reinforcement piece in. Okay, so we are going to get our glue around our outside edge and along the edge of that score tape, and then in the middle. Okay, and then what you can do, I don't remember who it was that was saying this, we're going to put this in our scoreboard like so, just to make sure that when we put this down, it's even along here. Okay, so slide that out of the way. Flip this over, burnish it down. If I've got anything that's kind of run out the side, I'm going to go ahead and wipe that up. And then we're going to do it again on the other end. So again, we're doing our glue along the edge of that score tape. Okay, and again, we're going to use our scoreboard to help make sure that our cover is lined up. Okay. Flip that over, and again, burnish this down. Okay, so we still have our reinforcement page for the inside. So this is 7 7/8 by 6. I'm going to go ahead, because I did not prep this one, and I didn't realize I didn't prep this one, and get some score tape on the back of it. I was hoping I had bigger scraps, but I don't. So that's okay. So you do want to use tape for this part, just because you can glue it. However, and if you don't want to use, you know, an entire sheet of score tape, you could do score tape here and here, on here, and then like on your outside edges. So like I would do score tape on the cardstock here. I would do it on either side on that edge, and then maybe use glue. But you will have to let this kind of sit and dry for a bit. And the couple of times where I've been like at a crop or something and I've forgotten my score tape sheets, and all I have with me is the little tiny score tape, and I've glued, mine tends to kind of want to bubble and kind of pop up, and I just don't like that. So we are going to fold back a corner, and then we are going to line this up. Sorry, I got to turn this differently because I can't tell what I'm doing. Okay. Line that upper corner and that top edge and the side. Maybe. Okay. And then I can just pull this back where it needs to go, fold it down, and then I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to just come along the side of that cardstock and trim. There you go. All right. So now, since I'm not ahead of myself now, we're going to go ahead and pull the backing off of that center. And if you've got your chipboard just slightly on top of that, that's fine. Okay, and get our backing off of this. And then just to make sure I'm putting it the right way, I'm going to put the sticky side up, kind of line it up where I want it to go. And then go ahead and lay that down. Then we are going to take our bone folder. You don't want to use like a sharp, more pointy edge like this one. My Teflon one has a very nice rounded tip on here. So we're just going to work that down in that crease and fold this up. And two, that's going to help reinforce that pivot point on your spine. Okay, see how that goes in there really, really nicely. And there you go. And that's how you wrap with the easy wrap method with the wings to the outside as opposed to the inside. Looks really nice. I just really love the look of the other way, but that's okay. So we are going to set this to the side for right now. I'm going to grab the scoreboard and I'm going to look at my notes here. And hopefully I didn't get these out of order, because otherwise I'm going to have to stop and figure it out. So for the left side of this folio, we're going to have a couple of flaps. We're going to have I don't think right. These are backwards. They are. I knew it. Okay. Ah, I just wrote it wrong. Okay, we're going to start on the right side, not the left side. Apologize. And I'm actually going to grab my envelope punch board, because we are going to notch a couple of these. Not all of them, just a couple. So let me just double check what I've got here. So this is okay. So our first piece is going to be 8 by 6 3/4. With the 6 3/4 along the top of the scoreboard, we are going to score this at 1/2 inch. And then again at 3/4 inch, so that we're going to have a 1/4 inch gusset on this flap. Okay. Our next piece is the pocket that's going to go on top of this flap. And this is 6 1/2 by 8 1/2. And we are going to score this at 1/2 inch on the 8 1/2 inch side, and again on the 6 1/2 inch side. Okay. So what I'm going to do with this flap, we are actually going to make this into, and I should have done it the other way, but it's okay. We're going to do an angled pocket. So I'm going to take my ruler, and at this top, okay, so here's our gusset, or I'm sorry, our score line. From the score line, I am going to measure over 2 inches and make a mark. From the bottom score line, I am going to measure up 3 inches and again make a mark. Okay. I am then going to grab the Fiskars trimmer, just because it's got that nice little wire in there and I can really truly see what I'm doing. You can draw a line across here if you want to and use your scissors to take this off, or you can do it in your trimmer just by lining up where those tick marks are. Let me see if I can zoom in on that just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so you can see my tick mark here and my tick mark up here. I guess the only one of them's in frame, but okay, so there's one, there's the other, they're lined up, and I'm just going to cut that piece off, okay? All right, so cut that piece off. And then this whole little section is going to go on top of our flap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to miter and miter. And then I'm going to miter through where my score lines cross. That will take the bulk out of the pocket. And normally I would fold towards the bumpy side, but I didn't get this in the scoreboard quite right to do that, so we're going to do it the other way. Honestly, it's not going to matter. Okay. All right, and then this is going to sit on top of this pocket, or I'm sorry, this flap. So you want to, before you glue anything down, you want to dry fit, make sure it's not hanging over the edge, make sure everything's lined up where you want it. I'm going to go ahead and erase my little tick marks off of there. And we'll go ahead and glue this down. And I didn't, left it sitting too long with the pin out, like always. Not a big deal. Okay. So I am going to attach this to the side first. On the side first, that is. As opposed to the bottom of the pocket. And I'm just going to turn this and look. Line it up on the bottom, line it up. Because this will run top to bottom. And just make sure I'm not on my score line there. Glue that down and then make sure I'm not hanging anything off the edge, because you could, the way this one goes, you could just zip that off the edge with a pair of scissors if you needed to, but we don't need to, so we're okay. All right, go ahead and put that one down. Okay, and then we can go ahead and fold our score lines. Okay, and then I'm just going to actually set that on top of the book for right now. We will attach it in a minute. I want to go through and put all of our elements together before we actually start gluing anything down in the book. Okay. All right. Good. I'm just making sure I've got the right ones here. So, our next flap is going to be 4 3/4 by 8. With the 4 3/4 at the top of the scoreboard, we're going to score it 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. Okay, so this one's going to open out this way. I'm going to move that to the side for right now, and then we've got 2 diagonal pockets that are going to stack that are going to go on this. So for the first pocket, it is going to be 5 1/2 by 6 with the 5 by 6 1/2. I'm just totally getting things backwards today. So 5 by 6 1/2. With the 6 1/2 at the top, you're going to score it 1/2 inch, turn, and then score it 1/2 inch again. The second one is going to be 3 1/2 by 5. So again, with the 3 1/2 at the top. Yes, sorry. You're going to score it 1/2 inch, turn, and then 1/2 inch again. Okay. So we are going to do an angle cut on these just like we did before. So we're going to take our larger of the two and from this bottom score line, so we're looking at with the 6 1/2 side going up, we are going to mark 3 inches up from this bottom score line. Okay. And then we actually are going to cut this up to our score line here. Okay. On our next one, because this one goes the other direction, we are going to mark 1.5 inches up from the bottom score line. And this one is going to go back up to that corner. Okay, so they're going to sit on top of each other like so. So again, I'm going to grab my trimmer. I'm going to line those tick marks up. Trim that off. Go to my next one. And this one I'm lining up this outer corner with my tick mark. And then my tick mark down here. Okay. So when they're on top of each other, this one is going to start at the corner where this ends, and it's going to come down to the opposite corner. Except I've scored this one on the wrong side. Ah, that's what I did wrong. So really I could flip it over and do it like this as well. But oh, I just need to rescore it. That's all I need to do. We'll be fine. So you will want to kind of pay attention to where your score lines are. So I'm going to undo that one, and I'm going to flip it over and score it 1/2 inch for the other side. And we're good. Sorry about that. So I'm going to miter that corner, and then I'm going to miter through where my score lines are here. That's my flap that they're going down on. So I'm going to miter there and there, and then through my score lines. All right. So this flap opens out to this side. So we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish our sides. And then I am going to adjust again, and I'm glad I'm checking this because clearly my measurement is off. It should not have been 5 inches. I know what I was thinking. I was scoring it on all 3 sides, and I wasn't, because I was going to leave that side open. But we could actually, yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and do that. Let me score this one more time. I apologize. This needed scored on 3 sides, and that is not what I had written down in my notes. I apologize. Okay, so we're going to score this at 1/2 inch again, because that does make more sense that it would be closed on the other sides. That's where I got it screwed up. Okay, sorry about that. Because I don't know if you guys know this. You know, I've talked to, like, Kim and Tamara both just will get the paper and just start, like, designing as they go. I can't do that. I literally have to, like, sketch everything out and plan it out, and I can't just wing it. Usually. Occasionally, once in a blue moon, I can just kind of throw it together and go with it, but not very often. And usually not on bigger projects. Little bitty stuff, yeah, I can kind of do that, but not on the big stuff. Except I just folded those the wrong direction. But that's okay. Okay, let's try this again. So we're going to dry fit our one pocket on top of the other. And my angle is still wrong, isn't it? It's fine. This could have been a little more aggressive, I think. Somewhere. It's okay. It will be just fine. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get my glue on the bottom of this pocket. I'll line it up at the bottom. It's not on top of my score line, so we're good there. Okay, and then go ahead and put our sides down. Burnish that down, and then we'll go ahead and put our smaller pocket that goes the other direction on top. Okay. All right. So there you go. You've got your little zigzag pocket. And go ahead and fold and burnish my tab here. And these pot pages are going to face each other like so on the right hand side. So on the back side of the small flap, we have just two small flaps that are going to meet in the middle. And these are 4 by 4.5. You will need 2. With the 4.5 at the top, you're going to score it 1/2 inch. It's helpful if you score all the way down and not stop 1/4 inch from the bottom of the flap. We're going to go ahead and fold and burnish. And then these are going to attach onto the back of that flap so that they open up and down from the middle. If you wanted to add a magnet here, you could wait and do one of the cut-aparts or an ephemera piece or something, and do a magnet underneath them where you attach it on one side and then, you know, the magnet's on the other side. You could use ribbon right here if you wanted to, that would come up from the top and bottom and close in the middle. I think I'm going to end up using a magnet on this part, so I'm just going to leave it like this for now. Okay, so you want to go to the bottom and to that outside edge. And when you're doing stuff on top of elements like this, it is helpful where, you know, 4 by 4.5, you do it just ever so slightly under 4 inches, just a hair, because then you know for sure it's going to fit where you want it to fit. Okay. Okay. All right, so there's that flap. On the back of this flap, we are actually going to do an acetate frame. And I don't have my acetate cut for this just yet, so bear with me. We are going to go ahead and get this scored and ready to go. And then I will get my acetate and come back and do my acetate after the fact, because we can go ahead and put this down where it needs to go on the back of this flap, and I can actually attach the acetate to the top, which if you're just doing a frame is actually a good way to do it, because then you're not going to have, you know, so say, you know, the outside border of our frame is right here, and you're putting that acetate on the back side, and it's starting, you know, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch down, whatever it may be. When you're trying to slip things in and out, it can get caught. If you're doing it on top of the frame, it's not going to get caught, because you're going to use your score tape to attach it to the top of the frame, and then you're going to mat around this. So nobody's going to know that this is sitting on top of your frame as opposed to on the back side of your frame. So just a tip. So this is 7 by 7.5. with the 7-inch side on the top, we are going to score at 1/2 inch. Turn to the 7.5, 1/2 inch again, turn, and one more time. Okay, I am going to miter my corners right through that score line. And if you didn't want to make this a frame, if you just wanted to make this a big pocket, you absolutely could do this. But you know, I like my acetate frames, so that's what we're going to do. All right, so what we need to do is, I just want to double check that this is going to fit the way I want it to fit before we get any further. We're good, and I know it didn't go all the way to the top because we'll do like a pull-out mat that we can put in there. So we want this to have a 1-inch border all the way around. So what I'm going to do is just take my ruler and I'm going to measure down 1 inch. And it's hard to see with the darker paper on this, so if you will bear with me for just a second, I'm actually going to turn this over. And I should have just turned it over to start with, but it's just on the gray side out of habit. So I apologize. Give me 1 second. Aha! That should make it a little bit easier to see what we're doing. Apologize. Okay, so we're going to go 1 inch. And I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to turn. I'm going to go 1 inch again from our score line. And I hear my child upstairs hollering for me, so any minute now he'll come in. And because this has the 1/2 inch gussets on both, or tabs that is, on both sides, you can actually just line, if you've got the Tim Holtz ruler that is 1.5 inches wide, you can actually just line that up along that outside edge and you'll be right where you need to be. So to cut out that frame, you can do it with a ruler and a knife. You can do it with your trimmer. You can do it however best works for you. Personally, I find it easiest to do it with the trimmer. And I think he brought his friend back with him, so it may get loud in a minute, and I will just apologize up front because if they come down for Nerf guns. Okay. What? No. Not today. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. All right. We do have a couple more acetate elements in here, so we'll be doing this again if you choose to do the acetate part of it. Okay. So I'm going to erase my pencil lines. All right, and we'll go ahead and fold and burnish. And because this is going to get an insert, I'm not going to worry about matting behind it, because we will have an insert that'll go in here and we'll mat the insert. So the only piece that will need matted on here is just this little strip up here. And then of course the frame itself, but that's easy enough to do. So we're not going to worry about that just yet. So I'm going to fold that out just so it's not in my way. I'm going to start at my bottom. Okay. Okay. Get it down. And then we will go ahead and do the sides. Okay, so that flap is done and ready to go in the book. Our other flap is also done and ready to go in the book. All right, let me find, so we're going to have a middle flap that's going to come down in between. So like you'll open those two up and this one will be what you see next. So this piece is 9 7/8 by 9 1/4. Okay. So with the 9 1/4 side at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score this at 1 inch, just because that will help this to lay a little bit flatter. And then 1 1/4. Okay. This one has angled pockets as well. I actually cut 2 pieces and then decided I really didn't need 2 pieces. So this is going to, the pocket, you're going to have 1 piece, 6 1/2 by 8 1/2. We are going to score this at 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. Okay. I'm then going to put this in my trimmer. I am going to line up this corner and this corner, and we are just going to cut straight through. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and miter. So you're going to miter fairly aggressively at those outside corners so that when you fold our tabs in, you're not going to see that. And then you're going to go right through that score line in the bottom corner. Okay. All right, so let's get our big flap. And I'm just going to go ahead and fold and burnish. And we have one that's going to come down here, and we're going to have one that's going to go up here. And the reason we're doing that this way is because, of course, this flap is going to open, and the general idea is anything that you put in either of these pockets, regardless of which way the flap is going, it's going to stay put. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and glue our bottom down first, and you're going to go all the way to the bottom and the outside corner. And put that down. And then we'll do our side. Okay, and then burnish again. And then we'll do the same thing over here. I'm going to start with this outside edge. Okay, so we're going to come all the way to the outside edge, and you're going to stay just a hair away from your score line up here. Okay. All right, so there's your pockets. So this flap is going to come up this way. And I'm going to go ahead and fold my 2 score lines here just really quickly. Okay, so they'll attach, flip up this way. We then have 2 belly bands that are going to sit side by side. So these pieces are 6 inches by 2 inches. You should be able to get this from one of your scraps. And we're just going to score these on 1/2 inch on each end. Okay, and those are going to go on top of that. And then we're going to do kind of a stacked pocket. Excuse me. Apologize. So, I'm going to go ahead and move that. So I am going to miter both of these. And I'm not actually going to put this down yet because we would want to mat before we put this down, put these down. So I am just going to miter my corners because then when you do attach it down, you're not going to notice these tabs as much because they will be on top of the pattern paper and there's not really an easy way to get around that. So I am going to just clip these back to that piece and we'll move on to our pocket. So pocket 1 is going to be 9 inches by 6.5 inches. With the, starting with the 9-inch side at the top, you're going to score it 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, and 1/2 inch. Okay, this one's straightforward enough. We're going to miter our corners. Okay, and that will go down on the base of the book. So let's go ahead and fold and burnish those really quickly. Okay, so this pocket is going to sit like so. Okay, we're going to do another pocket that's going to sit on top of this pocket, and this one we're going to do the little notch trick with the envelope board. So the second pocket is 8.5 by 7. So starting with the 8.5 at the top, we're going to score it 1/2 inch. I think. Hold on, let me double check myself here. No, not starting with the 8.5 inch. Starting with the 7-inch side at the top, you're going to score 1/2 inch, turn it to the 8.5, score, turn it back to 7, and score again. That's what we're doing. Sorry about that. At least I caught myself before I totally screwed it up. So, all right, so to do our notch, we're going to line up our, and I'm going to go ahead and miter this corner just so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And I will, it's not 1/2 inch. What did I do? It must have moved. Wow, that's going to be a fun one to fold. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't realize it slid in my scoreboard. All right. So, starting with our score line, I'm going to do this at, let's turn it the right way, that would help. So there are some markings on here. I'm going to start this at 1 3/4 because there's our 2, so I'm starting it at this 3/4 mark. I'm going to punch. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put that score line at the 3/4 mark again and punch again. And then all we do is we take our knife, we line up across those, where those 2 little indentations are, and we just cut off that little piece, and there's your notch. Easy peasy. If you don't have the envelope punch board, you could do that with a circle punch. You could just do, you know, the circle punch to get your little notch in there. That would work just perfectly. And then we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish. Okay. And then this pocket is going to go on top of the other pocket. So it'll have a slot on the top and then this one from the side. Okay. And you do want to kind of get this on here and dry fit and make sure it's going to line up the way you want it to, because it should fit edge to edge. Okay. Except for your little notched area. So I'm going to go ahead, put my glue on my bottom edge. And then just line it up, burnish that down. And then we'll get our glue on our sides. Okay. And my phone is over here blowing up between Ring and notifications, so I am going to pause for a second, get reset for our other side, and when I come back we'll go ahead and put these in on the right hand side, and I'll be right back. Alright, so let's build our flaps and things for the left side now. So the left side, we're going to have 2 flaps that are going to fold one up, one down. We're going to start with the top flap. So it is going to be 7 inches by 5.5. With the 5.5 at the top of the scoreboard, we are going to score at 1 inch and 1.5. So these flaps are going to have a 1/2 inch gusset, okay? I'm going to set that one aside for right now. On top of this flap, okay, we are going to have a small waterfall. I think I have too many pieces here. Maybe not. Okay, so for the waterfall, you need 5 pieces that are 4 by 4.5. You're going to score each of these at 1/2 inch. Okay. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I don't know why I've been fine all day, and the minute I come down to do this, all of a sudden I start coughing. So let's go ahead and build our waterfall. Oops. So I'm going to fold and burnish all 5 flaps. And then, so this flap will open up this way. This is going on the front, and I do want the waterfall to fold out this direction. So I'm going to turn this because I find it easier to build waterfalls upside down. I'm going to get glue on that very first tab, and we're going to bring it this far outside corner and the bottom edge, and you want to make sure that it's not hanging out over the top here. And I think mine no, we're good. Okay. For some reason it looked weird to me that it was hanging out too far, but it's not, so we're okay. Go ahead and build the rest of the waterfall. That so far off. What did I do? Ugh. No, it's fine. I don't know. Who knows what I did. Okay. Last one, and then I actually meant to put ribbon down and I forgot, but that's okay. We have a way around it actually. Okay, so there's our waterfall on top of our first flap. You could do a band going back across, which is what I actually cut to do and to do with a magnet. You could do ribbon, which of course you would want to put down one end before you put this first flap down. I forgot. So I am going to go ahead and do the band with the magnet. So I cut this at 1.5 by 7. I'm going to score that at 1/2 inch on that end. But I don't think it needs to be the full 7 inches. I think it really only needs to go to about there. So I'm going to just do just a little tiny nip there so I can, excuse me, figure out where I'm going to cut. Okay, so this ended up being about 5.5 inches instead of 7. So 1.5 by 5.5 if you're going to do a magnet and do as the closure for the belly band. Okay, oops, get that straight, that would help. And I am going to go ahead and grab my magnets for this. Okay, so that needs to go about right there. Get our other side on. All right, so there is that. The back side of this, I'm going to go ahead and fold this up so you just can kind of see how we're looking so far. The back side of this, we are going to do 2 pockets that are notched. So let's go ahead and do those. These 2 pockets are 5 by 3.5. We are only going to score these on the, or no, we're scoring them all the way around. I'm sorry. Okay, so you're going to score it 1/2 inch on 2 short sides, 1 long side. So the 5-inch side, turn, score, turn again. Okay. I am going to go ahead on both of these and miter. So we're going to cut down through the center of where our score lines cross. And then we are going to miter them just a tiny bit up here at the top. Okay. And then we are going to use our envelope board to notch these. So we're going to line our score line here at 1/2 inch. Actually, no. We're going to 1/4 of an inch. So this would actually be 1 1/4, but when you're actually holding on the board, you just see the 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to flip it over the opposite direction and do the same thing again. And then you can, like I showed on the first one, you can go ahead and use your knife and a ruler, craft knife and a ruler, to go ahead and zip across there. Do the same thing on both of these. There we go. All right. So these are going to go on the back side of this flap. Okay. And what you want to do is take your ruler and you want to find the midpoint, okay? No, that's right. For some reason, my measurement just seemed wrong, and I don't know why. Okay, so you want to find your center point and just make a little tick mark, top and bottom, just to help you in lining these up so that they're centered. For some reason, I was thinking this was turned the other way, and I'm like, it's not tall enough. It's New Year's Day. I got no sleep. And apparently I cannot remember what I designed 2 days ago and cut out. So I apologize. I was actually going to record this last night and then do a voiceover. And I was like, yeah, let's not do that. That would be really dumb. Because as any of you who have had the misfortune of watching a video where I've had to do a voiceover, no, it does not go well. If I would do it immediately after, it'd probably be okay. That's not how it ever ends up happening. It always ends up being, 2 or 3 days later, and yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and glue our sides down. Okay. So that whole flap is done. We can set that one aside. For our bottom flap, and this is the flap that's going to come down this way. And grab the scoreboard again. So the measurement on this flap is the same, so 5.5 by 7. You're going to score it 1 inch, and then 1.5. This one is getting a 1/2 page flap. So this is one of my little flaps that starts, that you put down in the middle of the page, and then it flips evenly from one side to the other. So this is 4 by 4. We're going to score this at 1/2 inch. And let's fold over. And then I'm just going to do the same thing again. I am going to find my center point and mark it. Although it's not totally necessary with this, because I should be able to just put this so it's to the outside edge and then have it flip the way I want it to. But if you wanted to be positive, you could go ahead and do your little notch there. Okay, so we're going all the way to this far outside edge and to the bottom, and then down it goes. And I am hanging ever so slightly over on this end, and I don't quite know why. So, because it's not in our book yet, which is why we're doing it this way, I am going to just trim that off ever so slightly. And then it folds back and forth just beautifully. Okay, so got our half page flap. This will open down this way. And then we're going to mirror the pockets that we did on the upper flap. So we're going to do our little notch again. Oops. No, not that. We need the scoreboard. So again, these are 3.5 by 5. Starting with the 5 inch at the top, you're going to score 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch on both pieces. Okay. I'm going to miter. We're going to go ahead and do these just like we did before. So we're going to go to the 1/4 inch mark, flip it over, make sure we're still lined up, 1/4 inch mark again, and then go ahead and remove the middle piece. Okay, so let's go ahead and, sorry, it's driving me nuts, get that out of the way. Okay, go ahead and fold and burnish. And then again, we're going to find our center point. Top and bottom. Oh, I did that totally wrong on that one, didn't I? I did. Or did I? What did I do? Hold on, something's not right here. What have I done? Oh, my bottom was wrong. Top was right. Bottom's wrong. Okay. Okay. And again, I am just putting this to this outside edge. Putting that down. Side down. Okay. And then put those down, burnish those, burnish it down. off our edge there. Oops. All right. So go ahead and get those down, and then we'll work on our bottom element for this side. Okay, so there we go. There's our, we've got our bottom flap and our top flap. Okay, open up like so, and then they've got those nice little notched pockets that mirror each other. Move that to the side. We'll grab our scoreboard again. So we are going to do a gusseted acetate pocket. Okay, I did something somewhat similar on my, oh my gosh, my envelope albums, I think I called them. Folio, I don't remember what I called those. Anyway, I used the Cartabella Flora, and it was the 3 thin albums that fit in the box. One of these had something very similar that we're going to do again, because I've kind of worked out the kinks on it a little bit better now. So you're going to start with a piece that is 9 1/8 by 8 5/8. I'm sorry. So we are going to score this and I think I cut this wrong actually. I did cut that wrong. Okay, let's try this one more time here. Hold on. That should be should be 8 5/8. That much was correct, by 9 1/4. So 8 5/8 by 9 1/4. But at least we caught it before we got it all built, and then it was really screwed up. So with the 8 5/8 at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch. And then again at 5/8. So that's going to have that little 8-inch gusset. Turn it to the other side. You're going to score 1/2 inch. And then 1/8 of an inch. Turn it around so the 9 1/4 is at the top again. 1/2 inch. 5/8 of an inch. So if I have not just screwed this up further, the distance between our inside score lines should be 8 inches, and it is. So that was correct. We are going to go ahead from, so you've got your 2 score lines here. You've got an inner one and an outer one. You're going to go from the outer one and miter your top corner. Okay. On your bottom, think about this for a second. Yeah, we're good. You're going to miter through the score line. So you've got the 2 score lines there. Hopefully you can kind of see that. You're going to go through. Okay, we've got score line, score line. We're going to go through even with that bottom corner. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and fold these up. Burnish it down. And 1/8 inch score lines are a little bit tricky, but you kind of want to do the bottom one first and then come back and do the upper one. I'm sorry, the upper one and then the bottom one. I just did that backwards, and as you can see, it's harder to fold, because then once you get that top one down, then you can pull it back towards you to get that bottom one and make it nice and crisp. So we'll do it right with this one. So we'll do the top one first. And then you pull it towards you to get that bottom one. And then you've got your nice little gusset here. Okay. The piece that goes on top of this is going to be 8 by 8. You're not going to score this because we are just going to attach this to the back side here to make our pocket, okay? On this piece that does not have any tabs, gussets, whatever, just the flat piece that we're not scoring, we are going to come all the way around and we're going to draw our line again 1 inch in. Okay. You're going to do this on all 4 sides. And then we will cut that piece out. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to grab my trimmer and I'm going to line that up in there. And we're just going to cut this whole center part out. Okay, so you've got that piece. What we're going to do, because we need this to line up exactly, we're going to slide that down inside, okay? And it should fit right down inside, or you can flatten this out and do it from the other side, whichever you think is going to be easier for you. And I think it's going to be easier for me doing it from this side. So I want to make sure I am lined up where this ultimately is actually going to sit. And then I am just going to trace again in here. Where this is going to be cut. Okay. All right. And then we'll put this in the trimmer again. This one will be a little bit trickier. In fact, this might be where, you know, just depending on how comfortable you are doing it this way, you might want to do it with a knife and scissors as opposed to trying to do it this way. But I'm comfortable enough doing it this way that I'm just going to go for it. Say that as I sit here and fight with it just a tiny bit, of course. And I don't have it all the way through on all the corners, and that's fine because I can just come in here, actually with smaller scissors than that, and just snip that last little bit out. Okay. Okay, so got both of those out. Now we're going to put glue on our bottom tab here. And we're going to line this up. It's going to go all the way to the bottom. You're going to have to line it up side by side on the sides to the edges of your score lines, and then burnish that down. Okay, open it up, burnish it again, and you'll pull your sides in. And because of the way this works, you can actually do one side and then the other, because you do have that gusset. And I would suggest doing it that way to make sure you get it lined up exactly. Okay, so I am just rolling that up and in. Okay. And I did get it a little far down on that end, but that's okay, because we're going to build a tab that's going to attach to the bottom of this to put it in the book. So it's going to be okay. And again, like I said before, it's handmade. It doesn't have to be perfect. If it was perfect, it would come from a store. So, all right. So there's our pocket. We will put the acetate on the outside before we mat it. Let me grab my scoreboard. You also are going to need, the hinge for this is going to be 8 inches by 2 inches, okay, with the 2-inch side at the top of the scoreboard. You're going to score this at 1 inch. Get your fingernail out of the way first. And then at 3/4 of an inch. Okay. The 1-inch side is going to go down in the book. The 3/4 inch side is going to be attached to the frame for it to fold down on. Okay, so all I'm going to do is put glue in here. And then make sure my opening is at the top. And we are just going to put this down right to that fold. Okay. You aren't going to put any glue on the gusset, just on that 3/4 inch tab. Okay. Because with the gusset, it's going to fold flat when it's closed. And when you open it, it's going to fold flat going the other way when it's open. So you don't have to worry about that little 1/8 inch gusset keeping this thing from folding back and forth the way you want it to. Okay? So the only other thing we have not done on this piece yet is we are going to notch this one as well. Just to make sure it's lined up exactly. We are doing it after the fact. So on this one, I'm going to go to 1/2 inch. Flip it over, go to 1/2 inch again, okay, and then we will go ahead and cut this piece out. Missed a section right there. There we go. All right, so there's our notch. Okay, that one's going to go down in the book. However, it's going to sit on top of another pocket that is, oops, that's not what I want. Our bottom pocket, as I'm calling it, is 8.5 by 9 with the, starting with the 9-inch side at the top. You're going to score it 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn again, 1/2 inch. We're going to go ahead and miter, just like normal. And if you only wanted to do the acetate on one side of that other one, you absolutely could. Okay. And then we're going to notch this one the exact same way we notched the other one. So I'm going to line that score mark up at 1/2 inch. And again, turn it over. 1/2 inch again. Remove that little in-between piece here. Okay. And then when this is all down, this pocket will sit exactly underneath the acetate pocket. Exact same size, exact same notch, so that when you open this, there's still another pocket underneath there. You'll be able to put a photo mat here that you'll be able to see through the pocket if you don't have anything in it. And of course, anything that you do put in there, you'll be able to see that. So there we go there. Let's go ahead and fold and burnish. And I am going to take a break here for a second. I am going to get my acetate together and the couple of mats that do need to go in prior to us actually matting anything and putting anything down. So I will get those ready and I'll be back. Okay, so let's get this finished up. So for the acetate pockets, the acetate for this one is 6 by 7, I think it ended up being. Let me just double check. I'm sorry, 5.5 by 7. Okay. No, 5.5 by 6.5. I'm sorry. I meant to write these down last night when I did it and I totally forgot. So 5.5 by 6.5. I just put score tape around the edge of the acetate and put it down on the pocket and then matted over this. So this one I did a 3/4 of an inch border, so you've got a little bit bigger of an inside border here because I used that piece that I cut out on the mat that's actually going to go down in here, which for some reason doesn't want to slide in now. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's what I did there, and then you should have enough of a border of cardstock around the edge here that you can just glue that frame down on there. For the pocket that's going to go here, we need to mat before we put the pocket down. So what I did again is I just cut out my matting that was going on top of the pocket. So this is going to sit like so, and I'm using, rather than hiding that paper underneath there, I'm using it here just to, you know, make the paper go a little bit further. So to mat these little notched pieces, okay? So for example, on this one, when we did our initial notch on the cardstock, we put this outside edge to 3/4. So on this one, I put it, for the matting, instead of putting it at 3/4, I put it at 5/8, punched it, turned it over, and put it at 5/8 again. as you can see, that leaves us a little bit wider border right here, which is fine. For this one, where I'd started my first notch at half, instead of putting this to 3/8, I went in between the 1/2 and the 3/8, punched it, turned it over, and then did the same thing again where I went part way in between. And that gives you a little more even border that kind of mirrors the way you would mat the rest of a page normally. So I did that with all of these. For this pocket, the acetate, you need 2 pieces that are 7 by 7 to do the acetate on this, and it's staticky. That goes on there. And again, this is the back side of this paper. So again, I cut out that centerpiece to use as the matting, part of the matting on the front of the pocket that sits underneath this. So I also, let me just slide this stuff out of the way, matted my inside spine, and I matted the outside of my book. I did use seam binding for the closure. I did use 3 pieces so that I'm going to have 3 nice bows here. What I'm doing on the front, where did that go? Uh-oh. There it is. Well, okay, so I've taken one of the borders from the paper collection, and I went over this with Nuvo crystal glaze that I had in my stash. If you've got glossy accents, you could do the same thing, but just to give those little snow globes some dimension. And then this is actually going to be a pocket that's going to go on the front of the book rather than cover up a whole bunch of this, and then we can tuck some photo mats and things in there. There will be a little bit more decorating that I'll do, but I'm not quite sure at this point what I'm going to do yet. So let's go ahead and start on the right hand side. So we need to put our flaps down before we put our matting and our pocket down. So let's start with the big flap, and I'm going to turn this upside down so I can actually, no, not the big flap, the 2 side flaps. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and get glue on my tab here. Let's not, oops, get it out on that edge. So I am going to bring this out. It is going to line up top to bottom. I am going to bring this out to the edge of my chipboard here and push that down. And I literally just had, there it is, my paper towel to wipe that off. Okay. Here's our other with the flaps and then that angled pocket. I'm going to turn this sideways this way so I can get this lined up. We want this coming all the way to the outside edge over on this side. Okay. And again, it is going to run evenly top to bottom. Okay, I'm going to flip it upside down so I can get this flap in, because this flap now, because this is 9 7/8, this should sit perfectly in between these two. Okay. In fact, if you wanted to close those two and have this one close over the top of them, you absolutely could do that. Crying out loud. Cannot hang on to anything today. So this is going to come all the way to the top, and you're just going to kind of center it between the two. it should fit exactly in between the score lines for these two flaps. Okay, and these have their 1/4 inch gusset. This one has a 1/4 inch gusset as well, and then it all closes up like so. You could do a ribbon closure that comes across. You could do a little magnet, which if I'd been thinking, I actually would have done that, because there is the cutest, and I'm not sure what I've done with it, little cut apart. Okay, so see, there's like this one. That would have been really cute matted on the navy cardstock right here to come across and hold that down. That would have been absolutely adorable. And I may still figure out a way to do it. So who knows? We'll see when I get this all assembled and decorated. You've got your acetate frame with the photo mat there. You've got your diagonal pockets. This one's going to flip up. Here's our belly bands. We're going to do our inserts for those in just a minute. So we're going to go ahead and put down this matting. It's going to be a little bit trickier than it might normally be, just because we did cut that piece out. So you're going to want to be careful with these two narrower strips. But there we go. So that's down. And then we'll go ahead and put our pocket down right here. We're going to line it up with this bottom. So I'm going to do that bottom tab first. Okay. I'm going to turn this just so I can see a little better what I'm doing here. Okay. Turn it back, and there went one of my flaps off the front of my table. I have to go grab that. And there you go. So now you've got your pocket that closes up here at the top. And I do need my bone folder to get that good and burnished. So you've got your pocket here and your pocket there. And then this is going to close up like so. Let me hop up and grab my flap that fell off the back of the table. All right. So for this, we're going to put down this big one first. And I cannot seem to keep the glue where it needs to go today. All right. And that is going to come in right here. It is going to be even top to bottom. Okay, there's that one. I'm going to open that up. And that's our top flap. This is our bottom flap. and you're going to put this one over, put it all the way to the bottom, and just almost to the score mark on this edge, because this one of course does fold out over the top of this, but just so you get it lined up right. And then this one we're going to use, because these go edge to edge, and they're, I'm sorry, not edge to edge, they're the same width. So we want to make sure we line these up so that they sit perfectly even across from each other. Okay. And again, you're going to go to the very top and line it up with the other set of flaps. So see, this will come in here and then those close over the top, so you're just seeing that edge. Okay, but then we've got our pocket that sits exactly underneath this flap. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is get glue on the bottom flap, tab, not flap, tab. Okay, and I'm going to line this up in between, fold that over, and I'm going to push this back against the bottom of this pocket because we want it to line up exactly underneath all of this. Okay. We can go ahead and do our sides. Okay. That's going to come over and down. Grab my bone folder, finish that down, and then what we should have is this will fold exactly over this, so you don't see that there's another pocket underneath. This will all line up, and then these will fold in on the top. There you go. So I have this piece that I want to line up underneath here, but I want it to line up exactly where my frame is. So it's going to be about right there. I'm just going to kind of straighten it up a little bit, check it one more time. Okay, and I'm just going to hold it on one side, get my glue on the opposite, and then put that down. Okay, and then I can lift up the other side and get my glue on the other side, and then that little mat lines up exactly underneath your picture frame, and there you go. Well, your frame pocket, I guess. So I need to mat this over here, which I'll do that here in a minute. But first we need to make our inserts for our two belly bands here. So what we're going to do is I have two pieces of the Navy Artisan. I'm going to cut these to 7 inches by 12. grab my scoreboard. And we're going to score this at 4 inches. And again at 8 inches on both of these. And then we're just going to do just a very simple tri-fold. So I'm going to fold this one over. Make sure it's lined up side to side. And then go ahead and burnish that down. And fold back the other direction. And again, make sure it's lined up. And that's going to be our insert that's going to go where our belly band is. You can mat this however you want. You can leave it unmatted if you want to. You can just add a few ephemera pieces and stickers and whatnot to decorate it and leave it blank other than that. It's entirely up to you how you want to do it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, so I'm just going to leave it for the time being. And then those are just going to slide in like so. So there we go. There is your folio. I'm going to do some more decorating and whatnot. But there you go. There's your project. Thanks for following along. As always, if you end up following along and making this project, please share it on Scrapbookers or Country Craft Creations. And also on my Facebook page, Scrapping Under the Influence. I'm also on Instagram as Scrapping Under the Influence. You can always post pictures there and tag me there as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.